2023, the global gaming industry generated approximately $196 billion in revenue, surpassing the revenues of streaming and box office sales combined. This substantial figure underscores gaming's dominance as the most profitable entertainment sector worldwide. The industry's rapid growth is fueled by diverse monetization strategies, unlike movie tickets, album sales, or even subscription services like Netflix, which are typically a one-time payment or a monthly fee. Video games offer countless monetization options that keep raking in revenue long after you've made the initial purchase. From the base game itself, which is around approximately $80, to downloadable content, also known as DLC, can cost more than the game itself. There are microtransactions for cosmetics like skins, loot boxes, and even stickers for guns in Call of Duty. And don't forget Battle Passes charging you $10 a month for more content. These options seem endless, which is why the gaming industry is thriving like never before. And this evolution from the traditional arcade payments in the 1980s to today's multi-phased monetization models highlights the industry's adaptability and its ability to capitalize on emerging technologies and consumer behaviors. But let's start from the beginning. Imagine it's the 80s. You walk into an arcade with the neon lights flashing, you hear the buttons clicking, and you see crowded kids everywhere. If you wanted to play a game, that will cost you $0.25 per game. And if you lose, you better have another coin ready. And that was gaming's first taste of monetization. But it actually made sense. You're paying for entertainment just like you're paying for tickets for a movie or a music album. You pay to play. But these games weren't designed to be easy. They were made to eat your money actually. Difficulty spikes, limited lives, and that dreaded continue question at the end of the game over screen. Countdown were all intentionally designed to keep you pumping quarters into the machine. And that's when the gaming industry had a major epiphany. Games weren't only there providing entertainment, but they could also be engineered as a long-term business. This was a fleeting realization that fundamentally changed the industry. Fast forward to the 90s, and we see the first major shifts: the rise of home consoles. Along with it came the introduction of expansion packs. These were inspired by the old school tabletop RPGs and the collectible card games, where you buy additional books or packs of cards to expand your playing experience. In the world of video games, this translated into physical CDs or game cartridges that added in-game content or entire new campaigns like DLCs. These early expansions were the first real monetization beyond the initial game purchase. Expansion packs started to emerge as early as the 80s, with games like Dungeon Quest or Populous being the first recorded examples ever. If you were around the age of 16 or older, you probably saw store shelves lined up with expansions for games like The Sims or World of Warcraft. This type of extra monetization was classic and in many ways the most fair. You paid for the core content of the game, and then if you wanted more, you could pay for more content, separate from the original game. Some of these expansions were actually so large that they were almost like full sequels, or games in their own right. A great example of this is Sonic & Knuckles. It wasn't actually a new game, but it was technically an expansion for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. The two games were developed as one but split up before the release, and Sonic & Knuckles had a special cartridge docking feature that allowed you to connect it to Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This kind of innovation for expansions was a cool way to make sure you got even more content, and the expansion felt worth the price. But then, as the internet started to become a major part of gaming, the true evolution of expansion packs came into play. So these physical discs turned into downloadable content, also known as DLC, which we continue to see to this day. Some DLC like those for The Witcher 3 or Monster Hunter World are so big that they're considered larger than the base game itself, and others like the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect 3 are often regarded as some of the best content in gaming. At first, it seems simple: more content for more gaming. However, as DLC became more common, the expectation grew. It wasn't just an added bonus anymore, it was a given. Developers started planning expansions before the game was even released, which led to one of the first problems. We began questioning whether that DLC was always intended to be part of the game. And this was particularly evident in the 2010s, with controversy over on-disc DLC. Games would come out, and it was discovered that the expansions were already present on the physical disc, or in the initial download also, but locked behind a giant paywall. It was essentially asking players to pay for content they already bought. The backlash was significant, but as time went on, it became less of an issue, yet the practice evolved. We began to see deluxe editions, or ultimate editions of games that included all the DLC, pushing the price of the base game beyond its original $60 to $80 to a hefty $120 or more. While some DLC, like the expansions for The Witcher 3, were outstanding and added a lot of value, a lot of it quickly turned into lazy cash grabs. Extra skins, weapons, or even content already on the disc, locked behind the giant paywall like I mentioned earlier before. It became clear that monetization had started to eclipse gameplay. Not this eclipse, not this one. Clash of Clans took a different approach. Rather than blocking you with lives, it used time as the pressure point. If you want to build a new structure or train an army, well, that'll probably take you a few hours, days, or even weeks to upgrade one building. Unless, of course, you're willing to pay with special currency, also known as gems, to speed things up. What really made mobile monetization explode was the scalability. With such a huge player base, only a small fraction of people actually needed to spend money for the game to make millions. This led to the rise of whales, a term for the small group of players who spend hundreds or thousands of dollars in a single game. And there are a lot of videos that are about spending a whole lot of money on gems in Clash of Clans or loot boxes in other games. Games were engineered to hook these whales. Flashy animations, limited time offers, tiered reward systems. It all created a loop of anticipation and reward that mimicked gambling. It doesn't matter if 95% of the fan base doesn't spend money, or a lot of money. As long as these whales spend lots of money, the company is fine. Microtransactions have become an integral part of modern gaming, offering a way for developers to generate continuous revenue while providing. But to this point where we are now, it hasn't been a smooth one, and microtransactions have evolved in ways that have sparked both excitement and outrage. What began as a way to add extra content to games has in many cases transformed into a monetization model that can feel exploitative, especially when it crosses the line into pay-to-win mechanics.